Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vivian, and on this channel we talk about spirituality. Now I'm super excited to be back because there's several themes and topics that I want to talk about, and I hope that this is helpful as we're moving through this huge energetic shift. Right before the year of the fire horse, there's a lot of releasing and upgrades that are happening right now. The first topic that I want to talk about is that there's going to be people who are going to start coming into your life, and it might start off first as friendship, it might start off as a work relationship, but quickly you're going to notice that it starts to become something more. It's going to become a relationship where it's like a mentorship and a student relationship, and these people are going to start to ask you information and you're going to share your knowledge with them, because over the years you've gained a lot of wisdom, you've gained a lot of experience, you've been learning, expanding, and practicing and applying what you've learned. You've been doing a lot of healing, you've been doing the shadow work, the inner work, right? And so you have all of these tools and knowledge within you already. You might not exactly be intentionally looking to train or teach anyone, but they're going to start coming into your life and you're going to start sharing information with them, because the information that you share with them is going to help them in their own spiritual journey, on their own path. What this means is that your role is starting to shift. So instead of just being a student, you're now stepping into a teacher role. And this is an upgrade in your role. This is an upgrade in being of service to other people. You might find that these people who come into your life, either they're really early on their spiritual journey or they're curious about the spiritual path. And the spiritual path is a path of love, right? It's discovering yourself as love and discovering and seeing, realizing that everything is love. That's a spiritual path. And the information, the support that you're going to be able to give to others is going to really help them along their journey. Now, what I do want to say is, if you're the student, not the teacher, right? We can always learn something from one another. But if you're the student and you find this friendship and it becomes a mentorship somehow, and you see that this person has a lot of experience, they're tapped into their abilities, they're connected to other spiritual beings, other dimensional beings, and you find it really cool what they can do, my advice is to not put them on a pedestal, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all are moving through different experiences. The only thing is that they discover some knowledge and they've applied it, they put in the work, they put in the devotion, the time, practice, and effort to be able to get to where they are today. And that is something that anybody can do if it's important to them, right? So it's not that they're any more special. It's not that they're superior. It's not that they're the only chosen one and somehow you got left behind. It's just they put in the work. And so you can too. And so you can just view them as a friend, where you can share information with one another, where you're being helpful and supportive of one another. Because when you put other people on a pedestal, what can happen is that you start to develop like this self-doubt or this insecurity that you're not able to achieve certain things or get to a certain level. It just seems like impossible and it just seems so distant, right? But if you see them as a friend, it's a lot more achievable, and you take that pressure off of yourself where you have to perform or you have to meet an expectation. Now, the other part of relationship that I want to speak on is that the relationships that are already in your life, whether it's you're in a divine union, or it could be a family member, it could be a coworker, a colleague, whatever it is, your relationship with one or a few of these people are going to be upgraded. So for example, my partner and I, we just got engaged, and the work that he has been helping me with is actually grid work. He's into spirituality, but he hasn't been practicing anything. It's just really interesting to him when he learns about energy and stuff like that. But what I find is that he unconsciously supports me in doing spiritual work, doing healings and activations. So for example, he's the spontaneous one in our relationship. He's always saying, let's go here, let's explore this place, and go to different places. And what I find is every time we go to where he suggests, we find something, whether it's crystals that we end up needing for later, or we find grandmother or mother trees that are very, very powerful. We exchange light codes and we do grid work. And without him, I would not have traveled to these places by myself. And so we're doing service work together, whether he knows it or not. However, since we got engaged, I feel there's this inner knowing that our relationship is more anchored, and we're going to be stepping into the next level of work that we're meant to do together. I'm not exactly sure what that is yet, but I know that it's going to unfold, and it's just this inner knowing. And so you might want to reflect on your relationship, see which ones are being upgraded. This agreement that you made with another being, where when you come to work together, you're meant to do something. There's a purpose for it. Now, the next point that I want to talk about is that your energy, where you put your attention, is going to be more focused. You will have different priorities, and you're going to start to change your actions, your habits, and even your emotions. So for example, if financial freedom is something that's really important to you and you've been trying to get it there for years and years, but for some reason you just notice that you're living paycheck to paycheck even though you don't have to. You're just, every time you get money, it just somehow disappears. You're spending it on a bunch of different things that you actually don't need, right? So if this person who wants financial freedom but continues to leak energy, which money is energy, they continue to leak energy, and they want to have like a 10K saved up into their bank account, but somehow it just can't get past 5K. Every time it hits 5K, it's gone. And they have a habit of just impulsively consuming. What this person is going to start to do is they are going to start to become aware. They're going to start questioning why they cannot reach the 10K, and they're going to start to look at the habits that are keeping them from getting to 10K, right? So they're not going to make impulsive decisions anymore. Whenever they do want something, they're going to ask, what is this really for? Is this something that's really going to support me, or am I trying to purchase it? I'm trying to fill a void, right? Because when we start to question things, we start to reclaim our power. Otherwise, we continue to leak our energy, we continue to leak our power, we're unconscious of what we're doing. But when we pause and we become aware, that's when we actually get to make conscious decisions. That's where we get to take our power back. Now, I use the abundance example because that was something that I went through. And I've always known that I spend money because I'm trying to fill a void. I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm trying to fill myself up with something, but it just never feels like it's enough. And so I continue to leak money all the time, everywhere, every day. What I discovered recently, the reason that I was leaking the money was that when I was younger, growing up, my parents were never home. My dad was an alcoholic. He loved to party. He loved to gamble. He was always out with his buddies, drinking, and just, never home. And then my mom, she was a workaholic. So she was working 7 days a week, 11, 12 hours a day at least. And I never really got that love and that quality time that I needed from my parents. And what I noticed was that to make up for not spending time with me, my parents, especially my mom, she would just give me money, my siblings money, to go to the mall over the weekends and to spend money to buy whatever we wanted. And so growing up, whenever I didn't feel the love, whenever I felt empty, I would spend money to try and fill the void, because that's what I learned when I was little. And I didn't realize that until recently, which is really interesting to know about. Now, even though I'm sharing this information with you, it doesn't mean I had to know all of the reasons for why I was leaking money, because even if I didn't know all of this information, it's okay. I just need to consciously know that these habits, these thinking processes, the decisions that I'm making are not in alignment, are not supportive to where I want to go, to the person that I want to become. And I can make that conscious decision that I want to change. I want to be better at money management. These are all conscious decisions that I could make to change my life, regardless of whether I knew about my past and the trauma, etc., or not. Now, you can think about whatever it is that is your focus. The reason financial abundance was my focus was because it was something that I struggled with throughout my entire life. But the thing was, I always pushed it aside. I never actually really wanted to look at my spending habits. I never wanted to really look at my bank account. And it was something that I just didn't really pay too much attention to because there was some fear that was in me and I didn't want to face it. But until we face our fear, until we look at the things that are holding us back, our habits, our thinking processes, our decisions, we're never gonna know what we need to change and how we need to shift. And so whether it's about finances, whether it's about relationships, whether it's about work, whatever it is that you're so resistant to look at, it's important that we look at it, because that's where we're able to change, when we understand the situation, when we understand our habits and such. Otherwise, we will continue to go through life not being able to change because we don't even know where to start. And so we continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. And once we become aware of everything that's going on in our situation, we're then able to make decisions based off of what we want to create, what we want to experience, who we want to become, versus making decisions based off of our trauma. Now, moving into the third topic, this one is a difficult thing to experience, especially because it's about letting go of attachments, letting go of things that no longer serve us. And it's difficult because oftentimes, even though we know it's not good for us, we still hold on to it because it's what we're used to. So for example, we're in a job that we don't like, we don't resonate with, but we know that there's something our soul wants to do. There's just something we know we're meant to do, but we know that this job is not it. And so we might be let go from this job. We might actually get fired, or we know this home is not where we're meant to be. Or even if you don't know that this is the right place for you or not, or you think it is, but it's actually not. And then you get evicted, or you get kicked out, or you find out that you just suddenly need to move. That is stressful, but that is happening now, right? So for example, one of my friends, her daughter just suddenly developed this allergic reaction to dogs over these couple weeks and months. And she didn't want to let go of her dog, but because of her daughter, she has to let them go. And yes, we did find them good homes, right? One of my friends, she is moving out of her home even though she didn't plan on it, right? People at work are being let go of. But I do remember that I asked that my work environment be aligned to the highest frequency of love and light. And there are people who were let go of that weren't that. And so even though it's difficult, it's aligning you to something higher. It's aligning you to something better. It's just in the moment of change, in the time of transition, is difficult for the human mind. But in the bigger picture, it's happening for you, not to you. It's just really interesting to see how a lot of people are starting to let go of things in this period. It's really interesting. Now, since we're on the topic of letting go, this is a smooth transition into the topic of scarcity and lack. There are so many people who are experiencing lack and scarcity. I really don't want to play down what they are experiencing. So I'm just going to give an example of what happened to me, how scarcity and lack is actually a mindset. For a couple years, I was in hermit mode. I was often by myself. I was often alone, and I was often in isolation. I didn't hang out. I didn't really socialize with people. I would just go to work and go home, and I would focus on my healing. I would focus on my spiritual practices. And that was basically my whole life. And the thing was, I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed my alone time. I enjoyed diving into all spiritual things. It was just amazing at that time, and I loved it so much. But at the same time, I didn't realize that I was missing socializing. I didn't realize that I was missing community and beautiful relationships and friends. And so in 2025, middle of 2025, when I decided to come out of my hermit shell, I started to socialize more. I started making friends, and these friendships grew into something that I was really grateful for. Even to today, I'm very grateful for the friends that I have. And what I noticed though is that I would get jealous when my friends would be friends with other people, and my friends would get jealous when I made new friends. And so there was just like this jealousy that was going on. And I remember that feeling of just like wanting to hold on to them so tightly. And I just wanted to feel important to them, right? So there was just this feeling of lack, of not enough, and it made me feel unsafe. What I noticed was that when I was afraid of losing my close friends, I would feel like I had to control. I would manipulate, I would suppress, I would lie, I would do these things to try and make sure I wouldn't lose them. And so after a period of time of doing all these things, I realized that I was stressing myself out. I was getting worked up and worried over losing friends who I know loves me and I love them. And it just made it stressful. In those times, I realized that I can't control anybody and nobody can control me. I realized that I had to set myself free. I had to set my friends free to be whoever they wanted to be, to befriend whoever they wanted to befriend. And I needed to allow myself to do that as well. And the thing is, people watching this, they might be like, what the heck? That's so toxic. That's so weird. But the thing is, we all have something that we're very attached to. We all have that thing that we don't want to lose because it's so precious to us, right? And yes, talking about it, it sounds crazy because I never thought that I would experience this in my life. But the thing is, it happens. It just happens. For people, we experience these things where we're scared to let go. We're scared to not feel loved. We're scared to not feel important. And so it makes us do things that we normally wouldn't do. It makes us think about things that we don't want to think about. But what's amazing about all of this is that these type of experiences, it teaches us about freedom. It teaches us to let go and know that everything is going to be okay, that we are enough, and that there is enough to go around for everyone. And all of this was happening in my own mind where I set my friends free and I set myself free. And it was kind of like an emotional process. I didn't think I would get emotional by saying, I am letting go. I'm letting my friends go, because this fear came up and I got to sit with it and I got to be with it and love it. And then I started to feel safe again. And I'm happy to let my friends be and do whatever they want to do, and for myself as well. Because throughout that whole process, I had to learn that I was enough. And even if I was alone, that is okay. So with all of this being said, there's a lot of upgrades that are happening right now. Within relationships, within your own life, things are being shedded, things are being activated, and you're stepping more into who you're meant to be. It just feels like there's this anchoring of your soul, and express and create whatever is not in alignment. It's going to need to be burned away. If you're experiencing any fear, doubt, or feeling ungrounded, I suggest going out in nature and being with the trees. The trees came through in one of my light language YouTube shorts videos and said they're ready to support us whenever we need it, and that, all of life is supporting us all the time, even though we feel oftentimes in our minds we feel that we're alone. But the truth is, life is supporting us all the time. I hope this video was helpful. If you need more support, you can look through the YouTube shorts that I've created. I upload them mostly during the weekdays. If you have any shifts that you're moving through in your life right now, or if there's anything that is coming up for you that I've mentioned in this video, I would love to know about it, so you can leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.